kind of go through that and then ask questions, whatever you need. All right, so if I've done it correctly, you're looking at the differentiating tools list. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. Did you guys see? Awesome. Okay, good. Now I've moved it to my CMA packet. All right, so my goal today was just to answer some questions that I have been getting from some agents recently and kind of over a long period of time, actually, but we had a few people ask about it a couple of days ago. And so I thought, okay, let's go ahead and do something where maybe I get a chance to show you how I explain some of our differentiators and maybe kind of how I do a CMA. I'm not doing a full CMA presentation or anything like that with you this morning. That's not the goal. Although if you have questions about different parts of a CMA presentation or processes or theories or anything like that, I'm happy to answer all those questions. But basically, I just wanted to pop on and just be able to share with you what I talk to my clients about with regard to our differentiators and how I express, what those differences are. So I just thought as a visual, so you didn't have to just look at me, I would show you my CMA packet. I have not adjusted this too greatly from what the company provides because I think it's perfectly fine. I think it looks great. But if I were you, if I was an agent that was really trying to hone in and do, something specific to me and really personalize and make this 100% authentically me, I would probably make some changes. Maybe to some of the photography or photos and some of the verbiage. But I have an entry page and a bio page, and then here's the pages that I use. Now when I go through this, a lot of these pages I won't even necessarily talk about. I'll say, hey, I'm going to be leaving you with this book. So my goal is to, talk to you about what your home is worth and talk to you about kind of the things that I do for you, but not necessarily to go through every page of this. This will be something that you can go back through and have for reading later if you'd like. I do talk about the trusted brand. I talk about how we're the most trusted brand in real estate. I think that's really, really incredibly important. In fact, if I was to do this and really get into the nitty gritty, I would make a change here. And instead of a trusted brand, I would say the most trusted brand in real estate, right? Because that's what we have been, I think, 3 years running.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you do this every single time to do this full presentation?
Do I do the whole presentation every single time that I...
Full CMA show?
That's a good question. I would say that I focus on managing offices. So sometimes I might be a little bit lazy, but what I would say is that I have been burned in the past by not doing a full presentation to people that I knew or to people that I felt like, oh, I have this listing in the bag. I know that I'm going to get it. And so my recommendation to anyone would be to make really certain that you do, in fact, go through and do this presentation, do your full CMA presentation, because what can happen is you can think that you got it and it's a friend or you've talked to these people or there's a plan in place, and then they talk to somebody else and then that person comes in and gives them this great, amazing presentation. And then they go, well, gosh, that person was really professional. And Tay, well, he didn't even meet with us, right? And all of a sudden, you just made yourself look bad because somebody else made themselves look amazing and you didn't have the chance to do the same. So like right now, this is a good example. A neighbor across the street of mine at an older house wants to sell his house. I know I have the listing 100%. And yet, did I do a full CMA? Absolutely. Right? Did I go present it? Yeah, we want to present it. So I do go through this. But again, I don't necessarily, like this slide here, Northwest Knowledge. I don't talk about every single page that I put in my CMA packet. I also, some of you will notice that this is part of the standard packet that the company has created and provided for you. I've taken a lot of pages out, right? So I do try to minimize what I have. In this one, you can see total number of pages is 36 pages. A couple of those pages are transition pages, and most of them have to do with marketing. And give me points to talk on, and also the comparables, right? And showing the comparables. So does that answer your question, Debbie?
Yeah, well, yes. And I have gotten to where I've started to ask, because I feel like some people actually really don't want this whole thing. I think it's actually hurt me in some cases.
Well, I think that you definitely
want this whole dog and pony show. I want to know how you would work, and I want to know what you think you could sell my house for.
I think I think you're right. And I think that that's what the majority of people want. And I think you can also kind of read the room to make a decision as to whether or not, how much and what you're going to present and give to them. Right. I think that you got to prioritize the things that make you different and the marketing things that you do. Right. I think that those are the most important things to share. And then the comparable properties or the data points that you're going to use to show them how you valued the property. But absolutely, I went on a CMA appointment with one of our top agents a long time ago, no longer with the company. And that CMA presentation, I was just observing. I was a manager in Buren at the time. I was observing that, and it went an hour and a half, and every single page of like a 70-page market analysis. And if that person had been able to read the room, they would have been able to tell very, very quickly that this was too much. It was overwhelming. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't wanted. And ultimately, they didn't get the listing. Don't know that necessarily was the key factor, but it was very clear. Sometimes it's too much. And again, that's why I will leave it with them and say, hey, I'm going to do this with you. I've also heard some good strategies around CMAs about sending some of these things ahead of time and giving the client the opportunity to review and see some of these things ahead of time so that they have some of this already as a foundation when you go in to your CMA. So I think that there's some good ideas there. Marketing strategy. So here we're going to talk about marketing strategy. Again, I don't personally spend a lot of time talking about these slides. I do talk about how I do just quickly identify that, hey, the majority of people that are going to purchase your, they're going to see your property, they're going to see it online first. They're going to experience your home through online, right? So it's how you look online. It's how your home looks and how it presents. So one of the biggest things that I can do for you is make sure that your home looks amazing, right? And that's what that's what we're focused on. Again, slides or parts that I'm not going to touch on. When I start to get to here, this is where we start to really hit on differentiators, right? Things that make us different than other companies. It's so important that we know what our personal differentiators are and what our company differentiators are. I showed you at the beginning of the list, everyone does have access to, has been emailed, can find. If you don't have it, ask your sales managers for it. This list here. This is a list of differentiating tools, different things that we do and offer that no other company does, or very few companies do, and most agents don't know how to articulate, even if their company are new, if their company did them, but for the most part, they don't. I don't touch on all of these things, but it is a helpful tool for you to take a look at and decide, hey, are some of those items things that I would want to add in on top of maybe some of the things that Tay was talking about. The home warranty is the first opportunity that I think that I have when giving a CMA presentation to really say, hey, here's something that makes me different than everybody else. Now, notice I said me. The things that the company gives you, provides for us as agents, are things that you really need to take ownership of, in my estimation. Part of the value of being at Berkshire Hathaway is being a we, especially if we're a newer agent, right? We just signed on a few weeks ago, a few months ago. We don't have a lot of business. Being able to say we with a huge company and the #1 trusted brand in real estate has high value, absolutely without a question. But we also want to be able to say, I do things for you. You want to take some ownership of some of the things that you do that differentiate you from other agents that they might be talking to from other organizations, other companies. One of those things that I think it really works well, and it really sets the tone, in my estimation, for the rest of my presenting, my marketing, and things that we're going to do that's different, is the home warranties. Berkshire Hathaway, we know Berkshire Hathaway gives you a free home warranty on every single one of your listings. And you can choose, and by you, the seller can choose American Home Shield or 210. That's great. That's fantastic. But when I present that, I tell a client this is exactly how I present our warranty. I tell the client, I say, look, here's the thing. Most agents will help you in, marketing your property and help you negotiate contracts and put a stick out in front of the house. To me, the process is much bigger than that. And I want to protect you, the seller, in every aspect of selling your home. Not only do I want to market your home better than anybody else, not only do I want to be there to negotiate for you and help you find the right offer for you and follow it through to closing and make sure that you close on time and with a smooth transaction, but I also want to protect your house itself. One thing that I do for my clients that no one else does is I provide a home warranty at no cost to you on your home. From the time that we list your home until the time that it closes, it'll be protected under a home warranty. This is important because things can come up, right? If you come to an inspection and the heat exchanger on the furnace is cracked, great. A $50 service call or $60 service call, and you've got a new furnace, or at the very least a fixed furnace, right? And so these are important things that I've already predetermined and that I know are important to you as we go through that you haven't thought of yet. And this is part of the service that I offer my clients that really you won't find anywhere else. So that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about when it comes to the home warranty. I'm not going to talk about the companies. I'm not going to talk about everything that's covered. I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty details. It's completely irrelevant. What's relevant is that I just told them, hey, I'm going to do something for you. And I identified that no one else does this, right? And that's the value. Make sure that when you're telling somebody something that you do that really is above and beyond what the average real estate broker is going to do for you, you can identify it. Make sure to say, I do this and no one else does, right? That's a true statement. If they're talking to another Berkshire Hathaway agent, then it's not a true statement. But what are the chances that they're talking to you and somebody else in your office? It's fairly slim at best, right? So I think that those are things that, or that is a way to present and to say, hey, this is something that I do that nobody else does. It really catches their attention. I talk about Pinnacle, right? The Pinnacle is a new program that we have I hit on this briefly because for a lot of homes, we don't need Pinnacle, right? What's Pinnacle? It's the program where they will help you with the costs and design of doing all kinds of different fixes and things in the house if you need, if your seller needs financial help to do that up front, and then they get paid out of closing. It's a heck of a program. So again, I'm not going to talk too much about Pinnacle today, but if the home is in need of things and we can say, hey, we have this service that no one else provides. Now, there are other companies that have programs that are similar to Pinnacle, but are very, very good in a lot of aspects. Again, not going to get specifically into Pinnacle. It's not something that you're going to use too often, and that is something that you can just go to a Pinnacle training to be able to speak on more. But that is something of value. Next thing that I talk about is marketing. I talk about, okay, look, I want to explain to you kind of how I market a property and what I do that no one else does, because that's what's important. We can all put a sign in the front and we can all put it on the MLS, right? And when we do that, it goes on Zillow and it goes on Redfin and it goes all over the place, right? We can all do that. But what matters is how do we put as many eyeballs on your home as we possibly can? Because my goal at the end of listing your property, once we have one offer in hand, 5 offers in hand, no offers in hand, if we do a review date and nobody makes an offer, I want us to know for certain that we have gone to every potential a place where buyers could be found, right? I want to make sure that we put you in front of everyone. And that's something that I can offer that other companies just simply can't, because Berkshire Hathaway gives me the ability to do that. One of the things that I have the ability to do is to list your home internationally in a way that no other companies do. Not only are we an international company and have branches around the world, but also we have international marketing on things like the Wall Street Journal and Trillion, different things like that. But really, I want to point your attention to Juwai. Juwai is a website that we have access to. Now, for you agents, just to understand, Juwai is, and I do explain this to the sellers, Juwai is the #1 website for international buyers, for Chinese buyers. Okay, this is where people that want to invest in property around the world from China will look to see what properties are available. Okay, why does that matter, and why does China matter? Well, China matters because in China, you cannot own the land. You can own the house, but you can't own the property. And so it has seemed over decades to be one of the bigger investors in real estate in the United States, and specifically in our area, are Chinese buyers. And traditionally, when they make an offer, it's an all-cash offer. And again, it's just an investor trying to put their money into an asset here that they can own the house and the land, right? And it's a good investment. We are also one of the fastest places to, well, I think the quickest place to get to from most places of China to the United States. The number one area actually used to be Vancouver, BC, but they put tariffs maybe 5-6 years ago now on international buyers. And so that has kind of shifted and changed that to our Puget Sound area. So what I tell a seller is very, very clear, very simple. I just tell them, look, we market with July. And now again, back for you, for the agents, we list every single home that's over $200,000 on July. So if you list a property on the MLS, you don't have to do anything. Our company automatically, across the board, everybody in the United States, every Berkshire Hathaway agent has the same value. It gets listed to July. That's part of being under Berkshire Hathaway, the mother company, and having the big pockets and the relationships that Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway brings. So at any rate, so I talk about how we market internationally in a way that nobody else can, and we market on July. And what's the value of that? I say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, am I going to tell you that I'm going to bring you an offer from China? No, absolutely not. I have no idea if somebody from China is going to want to make an offer on your property and purchase it as an investment property. But what I am saying is that it is just another avenue that we go through to market your property, to make sure that when we do bring one offer, 2 offers, 10 offers, or no offers to you at the review period, that we know we have exhausted that option. It's something that nobody else has to offer to you, because the cost of it is just prohibitive for most real estate brokers and companies. So we talk about international marketing, and then I say we have national marketing on a level that nobody else has. I have things that I do to market your property that no one else does. Again, I continue to harp on no one else, no one else, no one else, because I want their attention on, hey, this is going to be different than the other people that I talk to, or this is going to, Tay's about to tell me something different than the other agent that we met with earlier today. And we're going to talk about national marketing. We're a national company. We're not just a local company like the blue company or the green company. We are all over the country. So people know about Berkshire Hathaway and are familiar. Why does that matter? Well, because of course we're one of the areas of the country that is most traveled to or relocated to. And so we want to make sure that your branding in your property comes up anywhere in the country, and people know and identify that as being a reputable brand with good listings and things of that nature. But one of the things that we do to market your property is targeted marketing. And then I get into our AdWorks program, which is this. So I say, again, for my clients, I do a marketing campaign that really nobody else does. Ultimately, it's great that right now when we list a property for sale, sellers or buyers are looking online and they're hitting refresh on their searches and things of that nature. And that's great. But that's only one portion of the potential buyer pool. And it's requiring and relying on people, buyers, to go to those websites. So really to come to us in order to find it. But what I want to do, and what my marketing does, is I want to meet people where they are. I want to go and put your property where people are already spending time, where they are. I don't want to rely on them coming to us. That's passive action. I want to market aggressively and intentionally. And so I use a company called AdWorks that does targeted marketing. Are you familiar with targeted marketing? And they always say, oh, maybe, yeah, kind of. And then I go into my thing and I just say, it's just like what you see on Amazon. If you went on Amazon and you saw that amazing cowboy hat and you liked it, you clicked on it maybe, but you didn't buy it, right? And then you see it as you go around the internet. You go on CNN for your news and there's that great cowboy hat, or you go on flowers.com because you want to order some flowers and boom, there's that cowboy hat. Well, I use the same technology and the same marketing strategy with marketing your home. So my marketing program will identify people that fall under a certain algorithm that live within a 15-mile radius of your home. And it will start to target market them. If they've done anything on the internet that says that they're thinking about buying a property in your area, boom, they're going to see you. Heaven forbid they click on that ad when it comes up. If they do, it will continue to follow them around the internet as they go, right? Now, you know how useful that is and how that keeps top of mind and in front of you. We want to be where people are, because we don't know that necessarily the right buyer for your house or the best buyer for your house is actually actively looking for your home today. So wouldn't you agree that it would be a good idea when trying to sell a home to get in front of people that maybe aren't as active or aren't as actively looking for a property? Because if they see yours, they may go, you know what, that's it. And I don't have to do anything else. We all want things that are simple, right? We all want things that are brought to us. And so I market through AdWords. It will be on all major websites across the internet, CNN, ESPN, whatever it is. And as it goes, I'll be able to send you photos and show you your home up on some of these websites. It's pretty cool. So that's what I talk to them about AdWords. Any questions about? I should probably stop after each of these sections, shouldn't I? Any questions about that? About AdWords? AdWords sets up for you automatically. I think it's like within 24 to 48 hours of when you list the property, they send you an email that says, hey, if you'd like to make any adjustments to your ad, you can, and things of that nature. But it's up and going, and that's something that we provide, the company provides for you, the agent, at no cost for 7 days. Once it gets going, not once you list the property, but once the AdWords ad gets going, you have 7 days of free marketing that way. Anything after that, I think, is $50 a week. Yeah, Debbie.
Has the company considered allowing us to use our mobile numbers for this instead of it's always the office number? And
I believe you can change that.
Yeah, but then it's a delay then. And in this market.
Is it?
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I don't know how their system interacts with ours. One of the big things with all this technology is that you've got all of these different systems that are not competing, but they're not necessarily built initially to be compatible. And so they try to find ways to, well, where do we grab the information from, and how does it upload, and how does it work across a whole national network? And so my answer to that is I'm not sure. But if you do me this favor, if you send me an email that just reminds me of your question, it's definitely something that I can ask and get more info on as to if that's possible and why that is. But as you said, maybe it delays it, but you can change it to your email. The goal with all the marketing that the company does really truly is to market you and to get the business to you. We do not have a system in place where we're trying to put the office's phone number where then we get office calls and then we are using those or that's a value to the office or the company. It's not. We don't have floor time anymore, so I don't need the front phone to ring. I want your personal phone to ring. So that's something that I could ask about, but my guess is that it's the way that it is for a legitimate reason, and probably wouldn't be adjusted, but I definitely could ask about it.
Okay, I'll email you. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. So again, 7 days, no cost to you. After that, it's $50 a week if you want to continue. In our market, I mean, we haven't really had to continue this for a long period of time, but remember, as we're giving value to our clients, we're also getting value for ourselves. If you think about this for a second, once you list a property and and you are targeting people within a 15-mile radius of that property, you probably also live in that radius. But as people are thinking about buying or selling houses and they're on ESPN checking the scores, and they see a house pop up with your name and your phone number directed to you, if you click on it, if they click on it, it goes to your personal website, not the company website, right? Isn't that an amazing way for you to get credibility with people that are thinking about selling their homes, right? If I'm thinking about selling my home, do I want to sell with somebody that I just met at an open house, or would I want to sell with somebody whose ad and face and phone number is on ESPN? I think that's kind of interesting, right? If they're selling a property right in my neighborhood, you've got a way to really market yourself. You can also take those screenshots and put those on your social media or use those in different ways to leverage and share, what you're doing for your clients. This is huge value. It is something significantly different than anyone else is doing, and it really gives you an opportunity to stand out and differentiate yourself from everybody else. I'm going to stay on this for just a second. We also talk, when I do a CMA presentation, I also talk about hyper-local marketing, especially if I am listing a property that is in area 130 or area 140, because I know that we have access to the blogs, right? The West Seattle blog, I think they're like 1.3 million views or unique visitors or something like that a month. And the B-Town blog is like the same number in a year, which is still a huge number of people, right? We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people a month that are jumping on there, well over 100,000 people a month. So you're getting a lot of exposure in the marketing that we can do and do for you in those spaces. So we talk about hyperlocal marketing and how I market your property here hyperlocally, again, in a way that nobody else can. Why do I know that they can't? Well, because we pay to be the primary sponsor and to market in these specific ways. Now, for West Seattle, we talk about the West Seattle blog, and we have the top marketing piece or spot on the West Seattle blog. Let me real quick see if I can show you that. If I do this, give me a second here. All right, can you guys see the blog now? Is that a yes?
No.
Nope, can't see the blog? Okay.
No, we still see your presentation.
Okay, good. Hold on a second. I think I might have to come back in here and share a different screen. So let me do it this way. I put it on the same screen, but I think it wants me to do that. Now, can you see it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So as you can see on the West Seattle blog, we pay a lot of money to market in a unique way in a here on the blogs, the two respective blogs, in a way that other companies can't do. This is not cheap to do, but as you can see here, top corner, we've got our top 10 realtors for March. Fantastic. Okay, so we have exposure there, and if they click that, they will go to the company website. But on different days of the week, we post different things. So open houses, right? We have an open house day where they can click on open houses for the weekend, right? And they can see which homes are coming up or which homes are going to be open that weekend. So I can tell a seller, look, I can market your property and our open house in a way that nobody else can. Same with your listings. We have a day where we post just new listings or our listings as a company. And so they can click on it and it goes to a map that shows all of the Berkshire Hathaway listings. And so again, we're driving attention in the B-Town blog. We can even do special interest stories. If you want to write a story about your listing, we can talk to you more about how that works. But we have ways where we can market in a hyperlocal way, again, in ways that no other company can do. So if I minimize that, are you looking now at my presentation again?
Or not yet.
Not yet.
There,
Okay.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Perfect. Okay. So at any rate, so we talk about international marketing, we talk about national marketing, and we talk about hyperlocal marketing in a way, and I identify the things that we do that nobody else can do. Those are the differentiators for the company that I'm going to focus most on. Okay, to me, those are the things that I really want to present and share that the company does. I think that's enough. I think if we start getting into too many other things, I think that we start to kind of dilute the value of the things that we have that really do put us above everybody else. So then, of course, we're going to talk about market value and timing and things of that nature. I do talk on a couple of these slides a little bit. These, this slide, right? We've used this for years and years, and we talk about how this is a normal market, and we just adjust it. We just say, hey, now it goes like this, right? It's on market time, and your activity is, in the first, these are weeks. So in the first half week, anybody that's looking to buy or sell a house like yours has already seen it. Awesome. And then again, this isn't the point of today's class, but I'll just show you. These are the things that I use out of Cloud CMA. These are the items. These are the graphics that are available to you, or the slides that are available to you through Cloud CMA. I like this map because it can show the seller just how close the properties are to you. I think it's incredibly important that they can see that, yes, these are comparable to them. We're not taking a house in Burien and then a house in Federal Way and trying to say that this is a comparable property. In fact, we're just within a few block radius. This is a quick breakdown of those listings. And then I just use the property details sheet, which gives a little bit of information, some of the core things about what the house is. and then shows all the photos of the house. I find that sellers of all of the things that I have to present to them, this is probably the thing that gets looked at the most. They do want to see, in my experience, the photos of the comparable properties. They want to see them all. So that's what I use. That is it and all for my presentation there. Now, if I get an opportunity, I may also present to them or show them, and I would recommend that you do this. Is it back to the West Seattle blog?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the other thing that I would recommend that you do is have something prepared. Now, my preparation on this, again, it's not my priority to try to get new listings and things like that. So, again, if I was just an agent, I would find a way to bring this into my presentation. Again, as a differentiating value. If you have done these, and if you haven't done these, then I would recommend maybe starting or thinking about, well, would this be of value for you? But if I get a chance to share the marketing and show them the photography and the video work that I do on my listings, I think that that's highly, highly valuable, right? Because you are going to identify right away, hey, I use top photographers. And I do recommend that you spend the money to use a very good photographer. If you're not making their house look amazing, it's not just their house that you are trying to sell. It's also future homes and it's future potential sellers, right? You want potential future sellers to be able to look and say, wow, every one of her listings is amazing. Like the photography, the pictures are just great, even if the house itself maybe isn't the most amazing, brand new remodeled home. But if I go in here and I go to my listings, let's see here. And I go to, let's do this. Let's not do that. I don't know. I'm not sure what that was about. Let's try this one here. Okay, so not only am I going to show, well, actually, what I'm going to, this is the video. We'll come back to that in just a second. So I'm going to find a way, if I'm you, to come in here and go, okay, I want something that shows off my photography, just how bright and airy and amazing my photography is, right? This makes me look like a rock star. And I want them to see that I am a rock star. Now, if we don't have listings yet, or we don't have many listings, or our listings don't necessarily look like this, there's no reason that you can't ask for permission to use some photos. You can use my photos and say, this is the kind of photography that I will do for your property. You don't have to say, this is the photography that I did for my last listing, right? But you can say, this is the type of photography that I will be doing when we list your property. All right. This is one of our Berkshire Hathaway listings from the photographer that I'm going to be using. Something along those lines. If you don't have a lot to pull from yourself already, but you get the idea, right? We want something that shows really great photography. One of the things that I do for my listings, anything that's over $700,000 that I have been starting to do, is a video like this. This I got through Picasso, is the photographer I used for this one. I use a couple of different ones. I said Picasso, it's Picasso. The name is right up there in the top left, right? And they create a video like this. Now, my photos and this video are going to run about $800. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. But remember, every time that I do this, it's an investment in not only securing and selling for the top value the house that I got, but also for getting future business. I think that this video is great because I feel like it looks like something you would see on HGTV, maybe on an advertisement or something. Might not be music. I don't think it's selected the audio. Can you hear the audio?
I think you asked about audio. No, we don't hear audio.
That's okay. All right, so you get the idea, right? So it's video that's moving through. It's video that has some drone work, right? Start to get back to outside stuff. So it's really so. And again, you couldn't hear the audio. but it's got some snazzy, bump, 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 some good energy stuff going on there that will help share and show, kind of what you do and how amazing that listing is going to look when it goes out. People love this stuff. Absolutely love it. I think that is a big differentiator for me when I'm talking to people about selling their homes. So I would highly recommend doing the video. And again, if you don't have the video already and you want to start using this technique now, you can say, this is what I'm going to provide for you. When you go to that video on YouTube, and again, you can find all my photography, all my videos, just go to my sold listings, just go on the MLS, type in my lag number 29932. Sure. And you can click on the link and go to the YouTube channel, and you can show that exact video and say, this is the kind of video that I will be using to market your property. This is what I'm going to be doing. You don't have to have done it already, and you don't have to say, I did this. You didn't do that. Don't say I did it, but you can say I'm going to, if that's something that you want to put out there. So I think that those are the main differentiators that I put out there and really speak to, that have nothing to do with me personally, that any one of our Berkshire Hathaway agents can speak to and use as well. All right. I think that's it for what I wanted to specifically share and talk about. Any questions on any of that? Is any of that helpful?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you spoke to the West Seattle blog, and how do you use that, or how do you speak to that when you are maybe working with someone whose home is in Auburn?
Well, you wouldn't. Unfortunately, that's
okay,
not
right. See.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a big value proposition for someone in Auburn or outside of the area.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, if I was speaking to somebody in Auburn, I would not even mention that things go up on the blog, although it still would go on the blog. I wouldn't mention it, because then the natural next question is what do you do in Auburn? And the answer is nothing. So I wouldn't highlight that we don't have a similar feature in Auburn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Good question. Other questions? Are there experiences that you guys and gals have had that you've run into that maybe don't have anything to do with this, but have something to do with CMAs and presenting CMAs? Questions you have about how to do it, when to do it, what not to do? Situations you've been in where you're like, hey, what would you have recommended?
So
I'm happy to answer those questions also.
So I do have another thing to add from what I've noticed. You know how everybody's anxious now and they're in a hurry and they want instant stuff. The thing that I would normally do is if I schedule like a meeting with someone, I would mail them the marketing half of the information first, or actually leave it at their house.
Okay.
And then when I meet with them, I would actually do the number part of it, right? So I can look at the house and all that stuff. So now everything is moving so fast, and they want like everything emailed now, right? So what I just so what I noticed in using the Cloud CMA, who we work with, right?
Yeah.
That you can do the live, live one, right? So it's like interactive, and they can hit on whatever the information is.
Sure.
So they can look at your at the actual comps and everything live.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And we can look at the photos and all that stuff live and all that. So I've begun, like on those folks who are like overly anxious and it's like, I don't want you to mail me anything, so I will send them, that information live, so they can hit on the different things and actually see all the moving, all the moving
Yeah.
images and stuff, you know?
Yeah, and that may work for some folks. It might be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. My only thing when you talk about any time that we're emailing something or that we're relying on them to get to do it all on their own, or if we're not meeting with them, there's a lot of situations I think that we can find ourselves in where we're skipping important steps and skipping opportunities to explain what it is that we're doing. Right? So if we're emailing everything and we're not having to sit down with them, we lose opportunities to see their inflection in how they ask their questions. We lose the opportunity to see their concerns or things that they are positive about and be able to reinforce those things or help explain those things. We really let go of a lot of our ability to not control the situation, but enhance the experience and make sure that everybody's on the same page. And so, one thing too that, when you started talking about, people wanting things super fast these days, that definitely jumped into my mind, and then I will just share, is that a lot of times people are doing CMAs where they don't even see the house. They just know the address. They talk to somebody, the person says, yeah, come do a CMA. And we've got agents that are bringing full CMAs to a home that they've never actually seen before, right? Instead of doing the steps of set an appointment to go see the house so that you see what it is you're pricing, and then coming back the next day or 3 days later or whatever that is. And I understand sometimes that's the only way to do it, but I also think that sometimes we need to remember that what we're doing is providing extreme value. Right now, anybody can find a valuation of their home that's based on an algorithm that has no real value at all. But what we're doing and what we're offering these people is something, a potential seller is something of very significant value to them, whether they realize it or not. And so I would just say that, if you find a good rhythm of how to use technology and how to send things and interact with people, great. There's 100 ways to do this amazingly, right? But I would be very guarded with my opportunities to have a process that allows me to be the expert all the way through and allows me to control, not so much control people or conversation, but control my narrative and control how I'm presenting my value and not let that get away from me. That's good. It's a good question. Good examples. Other questions, other things that people have that are maybe struggles with CMAs right now, or just anything at all that has to do with CMAs, if you have questions or thoughts or curiosities.
Yeah, Tay, can you hear me?
Yeah, John.
What are your thoughts on grabbing a comp from, maybe 6 months ago or even further back and then making adjustments for the market?
Yeah, I think sometimes we have to do that, right? So preferably, we really don't want to go, personally, I want something in the last 3 to 4 months, right? And even then, maybe I'm making adjustments for the market. I want to make sure that I'm making the right adjustments, though. So that's where it starts to get tricky. I think that a lot of times when we go further and further out, I think that a lot of times we may, as agents, we may have diminishing a skill level on how to really truly figure out, well, what is the difference in the value based on the time. And that's where I really would recommend that you get myself or a sales manager involved in kind of helping with that. And also kind of learning how the InfoSparks works and can identify what homes are worth at certain time frames and what areas, not because there's ways for you through InfoSparks to find out not only what the increased value is of homes in area 140, right, since 9 months ago to today, but also you can whittle it down to a certain price range, right? So you can see, well, what have homes over $1 million done in that time frame? Have they gone up, or have they gone down, or have they stayed about the same? And so I think if you know how to do it properly, or you get some good help, that you definitely can work backwards that way if necessary. Yeah, Debbie, I see your hands up.
I was just going to comment on, add in on InfoSparks is creating the map.
Yeah.
I like that quite a bit. It's just another way to do a data point to show exactly what's happening in their neighborhood.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And because we know neighborhoods and kind of like the streets, it's kind of like it's different on this side than that side and that sort of thing. You can get pretty specific, and that's been helpful.
I think it is. Now, I would rather, if I have a split level home in, in Arbor Heights, I would rather go further back in time, stay closer to where it is, right? Rather than go, and again, this is a bad example for folks that maybe don't know Arbor Heights well, but I would rather, if I'm on 41st in Arbor Heights, I'd rather go further back than take something that's on 32nd, right? It crosses the main road of 35th, right? I'd rather go further back. I'd rather go further back if I have a split level house that I'm pricing. I'd rather go further back and find another split level house than to use a Rambler as a comparable, right? I might justify a 1-story in a basement, which really isn't the same, but I certainly don't want a 2-story house to be one of my comps, preferably for a split level home, right? So there's different things like that would force me to kind of go back further in time. And right now with the market and inventory low over the last year, you might find yourself in that position a lot. But I think that that's a totally reasonable way to do it. Yeah, I will piggyback on that. One thing that I was working with somebody on a CMA recently, and I see this a lot, and it's perfectly fine. Again, it's different for every person, but my personal preference is I really don't want to do a market analysis with more than 5 comparable properties. I don't. I think you start to really get confusing and too much, and it's not necessary. You can whittle, if you have 10 or 12 comparable properties, well, congratulations, well done, right? You're lucky you, right? Because you've got all these to choose from. But you can whittle it down to the ones that are the most recent or the ones that are most similar or, whatever it is. I also don't like to have things, unless I have a narrative or a story behind it, I don't like to have things where the price, if I think the price is worth $800,000, I don't want to have a comp in there at 1.2 million. It's just going to be confusing, and their minds are going to go right to the 1.2 million and justifying how can my house be worth more because here's a comp at 1.2 million, right? So I think you can really kind of confuse things if you use too many and if your range is too big. I'm perfectly fine going into a CMA presentation with 3 comparables. I'd rather not have just 2, but I'm perfectly fine with 3. If all 3 is all that I need and tells the story, cool, 3. Keep it simple. They'll appreciate it. To Debbie's point at the beginning of the video, right? They will appreciate it because a lot of folks don't want too much information. They want the pertinent information. What else? Other questions or experiences with CMAs? Anything that you do that you have found successful? Debbie, feel free to share, or Bruce, or Angelica, or John, anybody? Deidre?
The only other thing that I was going to add in is to ask how they want the information. Most younger people, younger than me, I'm kind of old, don't want printed information. They want it electronically only. And some older people want it that way too. They don't want you to be giving them this paper stuff that they're going to have to weigh or recycle. So
yeah, that's a good point. I have not taken that into account in how I do CMAs, but I think that's a really reasonable question. I think that's a good question. I think it also goes back to, again, presetting expectations not only for them but for you, and even things like asking how do they want to communicate, right? Do they prefer text? Do they prefer calls? Do they prefer email? All those asking how do they prefer. I think the more that we get in the habit of that, the better off we're going to be all across the board. Good, thank you for that.
Tay?
Yeah. Bruce.
Another question from an old schooler here. So how to present? I'm often questioning how to present online. I'm still used to doing it face to face or something like that. But
sure.
Especially people I don't know so well, I want to make sure I present. So is Cloud CMA like that, or what's the best?
Well, that's a good question. So I'll give a little bit of an answer, and then maybe I'll defer if anybody else has any thoughts. The reason that I'm going to defer a little bit is I've never done it. I've never presented not in person. I always present in person. Even during COVID, I didn't have a situation where I had to present right at the beginning of lockdowns when everybody was at the heightened, state. But I've always sat down with people. Again, To me, it's so important. If I'm doing this with Debbie right now and her camera's not on, if I can't see her, if I can't experience how she is taking in this information, I am so lost. I have no chance. And if I say something and she doesn't agree with me, her face is going to tell me, her tone might tell me, that will tell me exactly. Yeah. When they do like this, right, then you know, right? Yeah. But the point is I need that. So if I'm going to do something, that where I'm going to send it or do it virtual, I still want to make sure I'm seeing their face. But from there, I'm not exactly sure. I will say this though, Cloud CMA is phenomenal. It's great, but it's not the whole presentation. In my estimation, it should never be the whole presentation because that does not include things that talk about your marketing. If you want to strip your CMA presentation down to all your comps is one thing. So let's forget that for a second. But if you want to strip your presentation down to like 3 or 5 pages and then your comps, fine, totally good. If that works for you, you're confident in that space and you can present your value that way, awesome, go for it, right? But those 3 to 5 pages are not in Cloud CMA. Those are things you're going to have to add to it. So you can download it and you can put things together, no problem. But there's not a way to, but that you'd have to do that. Now, from there, has anybody had experience that's been doing this electronically as far as giving CMAs?
Yeah, I have, Tay.
Yeah, John.
So, I mean, I would say, so one of the most beneficial things that I found with technology is being able to split up and add pages to PDFs, right? So,
Yep.
so like Tay's saying, so I like taking the comp section, talking about the comparables from Cloud CMA, because I think they do a really good job there. But then I take other of my own stuff and other stuff from like our company's CMA presentation, put that all into one PDF, so then you can email that to your clients, right? And what I usually like to do is if it's a couple, for example, I'll email them that presentation before our meeting, and I'll say in the email, you guys can do this however you'd like to, but what I find helpful is if somebody can pull up that presentation on like an iPad or something, and then the other person can be talking to me either via phone or video chat is better. But then we don't have to mess with me sharing the screen, and they can see my face, but it's only this big, and so they can see me kind of full picture, and then they can have an iPad there, and we're scrolling through it together. I found that to be helpful.
Good. And that allows you to see them to see you, and they can have it ahead of time. Now, one thing with what John said, my personal preference is never to put my suggested list price printed in the CMA itself. I never do that. And I know a lot of agents do, but I never do that, because I believe that if you do that, that you're stuck with it, right? I mean, you said that you put it there, and it does not allow you to adjust for things that you may learn during that presentation that you might not have caught before, right? You may not have caught the fact that there's goofy things that who knows, the garage outside, you thought it was a garage, or maybe you didn't even see it, and it's a studio apartment, right? Could that adjust the value of the house? Yeah. Are you going to look like a bozo if you have the price $100,000 instead of $120,000, accounting for that? Yeah, absolutely you will. The reason that I bring that up is that if you're going to send your full presentation ahead of time, I highly recommend that you do not include a price, right? That would be a time that you would, in my estimation, never include a price, because then we're going back to that concept of I'm sending them all the information. I'm sending them my CMA, I'm sending them my comps, and I'm sending them my price. And guess what? I have no opportunity to explain my value or my marketing or any of that stuff. They're just going to go right to the comps and the price. Of course they are. That's human nature. That's what they should do, right? And so I give up all control of the situation whatsoever. There's not even a reason for me to set a phone conversation, because by the time I'm done, they've already made their decision as to what they think about your situation.
Yeah, and I'll add too. So I almost never put a price page, even if I'm sitting down with people. I don't usually put a price page in. But when I say I send it to them before, like we have an appointment set up to video chat or to have a phone call. And I mean, like, 10 or 15 minutes before that call is when the report's going out. Cause I don't want them to, look it over real quick if I give it to them a day early and then, oh, sorry, John, we're going to have to push back our meeting tomorrow. It's
Sure.
like, well, that defeated the purpose.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think that's a good idea. I think if you're going to send something like that in that way. Now, if you're going to send something that doesn't show the comps, if you're going to send somebody like Deidre said, that her plan, or the way that she was doing it, tell me if I'm wrong, Deidre, but the way that I heard it is that you send your marketing stuff ahead of time. I think that's awesome, right? I think that anything that you can do ahead of time and anything that you can do after just continues to cement that you're doing things of value for them. You're spending time on them. You care about their house. You care about being the one that lists their house. All of these things cement you to that person. So I think that that's great. I really do. I really, really do. We talked a little bit about price. I will also throw this out there. I really recommend that people do not make a habit of or give only a price range when pricing a house, when doing a CMA. I think a lot of agents can get a little bit insecure or uncertain about what they think the price of the house is. And they can very easily say, I think that your home is probably worth somewhere between $700 and $725. Right? I think that that's a very normal thing that would come up. I've seen it on listing presentations, on a price page where they're actually writing that down. And I think that it's important that we can verbalize that maybe we think that there's a range that their home could potentially sell in, but I think it's so important that we identify what we think the market value is for their house, or what we would suggest that they list their house at. I think that it is super important, because really, if you think about it, if you're not in real estate and you want to sell your house, what's the number one question you want from that real estate broker? You want to know what your house is worth. That, above and beyond everything else, you want to know the price. How much money are we going to get for it? And if you're uncertain and you give a range or something like that, I think that I think that you're harming yourself more times than you're helping yourself. Other thoughts, questions about CMAs, anything at all that has to do with CMAs? And I know we're at an hour now. If people need to jump off, feel free. We'll keep going for those that want to stay on. Yeah, Debbie.
Thing that I thought of is just using Zoom. If I'm going to have a Zoom appointment, which is what a lot of us have been doing,
Yeah.
I just, everything that I'm going to be sharing on my screen in the doc below. And
Yeah.
so when I start sharing my screen, I just have things set up in the order of how I want to share them.
Yeah.
And you can kind of get a little bit more granular. Like I'll do some, print versions of maybe all the properties that I have in their CMA. And then I have the MLS CMA version of it. So it shows the square footage and beds and how long it was on the market before it sold and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I can also have some of my sold or pending listings and go to the MLS and show them that way.
That's great.
That's been pretty helpful too. Yeah,
it does allow you to, doing it on Zoom does allow you to show other things and really get into some of the more detailed stuff. If your client, if you think that they are wanting that, right? If that's something that you feel like is going to be advantageous, I think that's great. Yeah, for sure.
And the same with the info sparks, because you can make changes while you're on it.
Sure.
The print version, it's just the static. So
yeah.
You can kind of show them, some of the differences when you look at price per square foot, or, you guys know the options. So
no, I think you're right on that. I think too, while we're talking about the MLS, I think it's so important not to use the MLS CMA. One of the things that I talk to people about all the time is how, we really don't do a good job as an industry of individualizing ourselves, right? And when we're giving a presentation, if there is a chance that another company is coming in with another MLS CMA and it looks the exact same, I mean, how bad is that? We have gorgeous, beautiful things available to you that the company pays for and has constructed. Use those things, adjust them, make edits that fit you and what you're doing. But use what we have. Don't do it quick and lazy. I'll call it lazy, and use the MLS CMA. That's what people that work at down the corner real estate use, or around the way real estate, or real estate blessings or whatever they are, right? We're small shops that don't have all of the support and the features and the things, the tools that we have. And if you want to put yourself on the same level with them, I think that you're really harming yourself. So I would not be using that feature with the MLS. Good. Anything else for the good of the order? Going once, twice? Well, I hope this was helpful for those of you that were on and anybody that might watch it in the future. Again, I think that the most important thing that you can take away from this, anything that I could possibly say about presenting a CMA, is identify what makes you unique and have differentiating value from the other people that you are going to be potentially competing with. Because you need to, in a sea of gray agents, you need to be the red one, right? You've got to stand out, and you've got to identify and show them how you stand out. When you do that, they will be willing to pick you, whether you've been in the business for 20 years and are amazing, or if you're brand new in the business and never listed a property, you can still compete by using the differentiators that we have. All right, everybody, have an awesome week. Thanks for stopping on.
Thank you, Tay.
Absolutely. Bye.